And coach, it looks like things are trending towards a 10-day one-time transfer window in January. I'm just wondering your thoughts on that. If you're in favor of that, if you don't like that, any thoughts you have would be appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, there's been obviously a lot of discussion at conference meetings among administrators, coaches. I mean, I think still all trying to decide, uh, how that all, what's best. I know the concerns with the early January is going to be obviously the teams that are still playing there at the end, having to deal with portal even when the season's not going on or when the season's still going on. I think that's everybody's biggest concern. And then people on the other side of it, the question is, you've got to start school there with the different semesters getting ready to start. So does the window need to be before all that happens? And so, yeah, I mean, it's a tough kind of predicament that our calendar and current championship game and playoff schedule puts us all in. I don't know that there's a right answer in it, to be completely honest. Like you're going to give up something either way, and we've all floated all types of ideas. I mean, I think the first step, getting to the singular window is going to be a positive thing. So I'm trying to focus on that. There's parts of me that like it in January, and there's parts of me that we may be the only sport in the world that you're dealing with roster transactions before your season ends, like in a playoff scenario. So I don't think that that's real positive. So I don't know that I have a bunch of answers for you right now. I know there's still probably more questions than great answers.
Mark?
Good morning, Coach. Um, Last week you had your first depth chart was released. Do you anticipate any changes this week with the starting lineup on either side of the ball? And I'm not just referring to, Jakeem Stewart. You've got some guys that are coming back a little bit, healthy, ready to contribute now.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll have yeah, I think the only guy that won't be available this week that was last week is Prince. And then we'll have a few guys, that weren't available last week, Jakeem, uh, Chase and Johnson, a couple of those guys that we anticipate, being active and ready to play tomorrow. So it'll affect the reps some, but largely it'll be the same group that you saw last Saturday.
Ryan Karchi?
Hey, Lincoln. Obviously, Jakeem is impressive just given how young he is, physically especially. But I wonder when was the first time you actually were made aware of him and what maybe stood out about him initially outside of his size? Was it, his skills or just something about him mentally?
Yeah, early. I mean, I think his freshman year, we started recruiting him and started getting the opportunity to build a relationship. And we were fortunate. Jakeem ended up, liking LA, came out here several times, so we got a chance to be around him quite a bit. And yeah, I mean, obviously when you meet him at first, physically he looks, well beyond his actual age. It's one of those things. Let's double check the birth certificate. But yeah, I think his confidence as even as a young guy, um, but also there's kind of an old school humbleness, like he's a grinder, like and he loves the game. And throughout all of it, even as he became a highly sought after recruit and all that, like it still came down to like playing football and working really, really hard at his craft. And playing the game the right way, I think has always been really important to the kid. And like it's like he had the ability in those ways to stay grounded, even though there was so much attention obviously around him. And as the process went on, I was interested to see with somebody that we and a lot of people started recruiting that early. It's like, does the process change you? Or are you really grounded in who you are and what you want to become and have an understanding that it's going to take a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifice, no matter how talented you are to get there. And I feel like he's never shied away from that and kind of stayed the same. And so as time went on, our desire to bring him to USC, I think increased because of how he handled all that.
Thanks.
Haley?
Good morning, and I apologize for any background noise, but Mai Lemon has such a bright future ahead of him. I'm wondering if there's anything he can do now in these early games, early in the season, to really improve his draft stock later on down the road.
Yeah, Haley, those things I think just take care of themselves if you go play well, put great tape out there. You go you're positive in the locker room where the different people that NFL teams are going to get feedback on are very positive about your impact on the locker room beyond, how good you play football. And obviously, being able to show different skill sets and being able to show your ability to bring value to teams in different ways, offensively, different ways on special teams. I mean, I think it's the same kind of recipe for anyone that desires to play in the NFL. It's you have to produce. You have to stay healthy and stay available. And then when they come up here, because we have NFL scouts and personnel here all the time, they want to get to know who you are and they want to get to know what they would be bringing into their locker room. And, if that's positive, that's a good thing, but their NFL teams are very careful about that. And that's the same for any player. So, yeah, I mean, I think, Makai's doing a good job, being very productive on this team. He's, I think, grown up a lot in his years here and become, a mature, very accountable, person. Hopefully that'll continue. And if it does for Mackay and all our other guys, all those things will take care of themselves in time.
So, quick follow-up, what is his locker room presence like then?
Mackay is not he's not loud. Um, he is he's he kind of he's really worked hard to have more of a presence there, just with our guys in terms of leading or pushing them to do the right thing. He's never going to be the guy, I don't think, that's going to get up and give a 30-minute speech to the guys. I mean, that's not necessarily his personality, but we've challenged him that even though you may not be the one out front and center, you still have to impact these other guys. Like we need you to lead by example, but we also need you to help show these guys, the ways that this needs to be done. And so I think he's grown up one a lot himself and put himself in position to do that, where people respect not only him being a good football player, but the way he works and goes about his business. And it's cool to see him. I know we've kind of talked about it with Kamari and a few of our other guys, like starting to step out of their shell a little bit, or maybe their comfort zone, and impact the team beyond the plays that they make on the field.
Connor?
One other injury follow-up. Do you have any update on Alex Graham, Brian Jackson, and Caden Chittenden?
Um, Graham and Chittenden won't play this week. Brian Jackson is doubtful.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Shotgun?
Hey, Lincoln, looking forward to watching you guys in person for the first time in the fall tomorrow. But one thing watching the broadcast last week that stood out was Jaden's mechanics kind of looked notably different. What impact have you seen from the mechanical work he did in the offseason? And when you send a quarterback off to work with an outside group, is there any fear factor, of what he's going to look like when he comes back?
Yeah, I think honestly, I think it's more of a result of just his confidence in the system and I think familiarity with it. A lot of times mechanics, I think anybody will tell you, are a byproduct of what you do with your lower body, your feet. Um, and I think when you're sure about how your feet are supposed to be, how they're supposed to work on a certain play, a certain drop, a certain route, you're going to play a little bit more decisive and everything's just going to clean up a little bit. And so I don't think there's honestly been a ton of change like mechanically with him, like he already threw the ball well. I think he's tightened it up just a little bit where it was already fairly quick, but I think it's even a little bit quicker now. But I think the biggest difference is his feet and his confidence in what he's doing with his feet have really changed. And I get that's reps. That's confidence in what you're doing, being just very, very sure about what we need him to do on every single play. So yeah, we've had guys throughout the years that have gone and gotten some extra work with people on the side, and I think yeah, one, I mean, you want it to be somebody that's reputable, and I think two, when we put this more on the player is like you got to understand what you're going there to do, and because sometimes you can go into something like that and they can teach something that, again, there's a lot of different ways to do this, but they may teach something that's counterproductive to what we do offensively here, and then nobody wins. And so we just talked to our guys about, hey, if we're going to go throw some off the side because we're not with you all the time, make sure that this is what we're trying to get out of it. This is not what we're trying to get out of it, and just understand the point. And really, to me, it's just more about just banking reps, being able to get out and just throw throughout the year, maybe when we're not in spring ball or at a time when we're not in school. Because I mean, practicing your craft is still practicing your craft, but so he's done a good job of that. But I think the biggest difference with him isn't mechanics. It's right here.
Ryan Karchi.
Bishop was talking earlier this week about how his experience as a quarterback kind of helped him digest Stanton's scheme a little faster, maybe. It seems like this team has a lot of former quarterbacks, playing on defense or a couple of running back. Like, is that a trait that you look for at all, and maybe how have you seen it help Bishop especially?
Yeah, it's a huge positive. It's something that we've always, paid attention to. I would say as offenses have evolved, I feel like there's maybe less options of that nationally, just because, you know, most high school teams, not all obviously, but a lot are still, dropping back, throwing the ball, have gone a little bit more college and pro style. And so, you don't see as much, wing T and triple option and all that, where you may just put your best athlete back there and let him run, maybe than you saw, 15 years ago. But it still definitely exists. And yeah, I think it's something that when it comes up to us is like, to me, that's kind of a feather in anyone's cap that they've been able to run an offense, execute plays, understand and communicate to all 11. They've had to have some understanding of all 22 and what's going on the field to be able to play quarterback no matter what offense you're in. So it's typically a good omen. And then, I mean, the only other thing I could say is, I mean, through the years, recruiting and evaluating, you look at different trends on when have we been right and when have we been wrong. The one thing I'll say is we have rarely taken a kid for another position that had quarterback experience that we weren't like pretty excited that we took them like after the fact. We've had very few of those that haven't worked out. And so and I think the last thing it tells you is wherever they played quarterback, if a coaching staff and a team trusted them enough to be the quarterback of that, then there's a pretty good chance we're going to be able to trust them here at USC.
Nia.
Hi, Coach Riley. Good morning. I'm Nia Satterfield Brown with Annenberg Media. My apologies if you've already been asked this question, but I just wanted to know your personal thoughts around Coach Helton returning and how do you hope USC fans will react on Saturday to his return to the Coliseum?
Yeah, hey Neil, thanks for the question. Yeah, I mean, I hope our fans react with a lot of appreciation. I do. I think Coach Helton had a long run here. That's a long run for anyone in coaching. Coach Helton was a part of a lot of great moments here, and I know that Coach Helton, gave his heart and soul to this place. And so, and I think at times worked under, and not to, I wasn't here, so I don't want to judge too much, but I think at times it's fair to say worked here at a time where he didn't have all the advantages that maybe the outside world would think that USC has or would have. And that's just the truth. So he's a really good football coach. He's a great human being that represented this place very well. And yeah, I certainly hope our fans know that. And I just, I want him to know that he's appreciated by this place and then always will be. And I know everybody here within the walls feels that way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Well, it doesn't look like we have any other hands. So before we close, it's time for Conquest Command, a question from the front lines of the Trojan Army. Our question this week is from content creator Trojan Football X. You can follow him on X and on YouTube at Trojan Football X. Coach Riley, with the hire of Coach Tremaine Carroll and implementing a focus on being detail-oriented through all facets of the program, how much of an impact has it made for USC football day in and day out? Do you see a difference? And how does this transfer to the field?
Yeah, thanks for the question. It's been, yeah, for sure. You feel a huge difference, and we told the guys when they left for summer for break before they came back for summer that there was going to be a lot of things different, and we needed the team to wrap their minds around that and be ready for that. And I will say the job that True and his staff have done, and the job of our players, I think, to just to accept that and to really be bought in because we didn't have a lot of time was really important. And Yeah, I mean, I think it's changed how we go about business on a daily basis. And I think the coolest part has been seeing the guys, and how locked in they are to it right now. Like we just got out off the field, and our guys are, as everybody's kind of noticed, dressing and kind of what we wear and don't wear and all that. It's been important to this team to be very oriented and very uniform. And we just had a guy that came out and had a green mouthpiece, and before even a coach or anybody else could say something, one of the other guys like, nah, we don't do that out here. And like it's just cool to see, the like more player driven discipline, or you as a coach or a staff member, it's your job to lead them, push them in the right direction. But the best teams, it becomes then player driven, right? You give them the map, and then they really take command of it. And so to see our team taking ownership in that has been really cool. And yeah, absolutely, it shows up on the field. And I think our team is seeing that in terms of the details and the discipline that we've played with so far, and obviously we've got to continue to build on as we go throughout the year.
Amazing. Thank you, Coach Riley. Thank you, media.